Before we get to plant objects, there's a couple of small changes that we need to make to our faceplates. In fact, I've already made them. So if you remember from the last segment, I had conveyor. I had actually spelled it wrong. I forgot the N. But I changed it to line conveyor with an N so that it would kind of match up with line motor as well as the line pump. But more importantly, I'm going to go in and just kind of open this type, and if you followed along exactly, you may need to go make this change. But if we look at the tag interface, notice that I have changed the properties to use lowercase first letters. And that's because in this particular version of TIA Portal, which is, version 17, I don't have any service packs on this yet. If you make a property or a tag interface with name, where N is capitalized, when you try to assign a tag to that faceplate instance, the software will crash. And it took me a long time to figure out exactly what was going on, but just to kind of save time, I went back and just changed all three of the line equipments to use this lowercase. So just to show you, if I open up line conveyor and just kind of open up that version 2, and we'll hide this, we go back to the tag interface, you can see that it is uppercase here. Now, I was able to assign value and state with the first letter capitalized. I think it's just got a problem with the name being capitalized. So what I want you to do is go back in your faceplates, make your tag interfaces lowercase. So we will now move forward with creating plant objects. So now it's time to create our plant objects and our plant view. So we're going to go to the Plant Objects tab. I'm on Visualization. And before we add a new plant view, the first thing that we want to do is take a look at our plant object types. And you'll see that we don't have any. So we need to create these. Now, these are going to be for your classes of equipment. So we have conveyors, motors, and pumps. So I'm just going to click the button here and actually clicked it twice. And so this first one is going to be conveyor, and then I'm just going to right click and do open on that, and so we get this kind of big interface that loads. And basically the way that we tie this back to our UDT and our PLC is we're going to say, okay, here's our communications driver, and then under our PLC tag we'll go under our data types and we'll just call this equipment UDT. And I'll check the box here. It will load the structure, and it's going to give us our name, value, and state. And then we can also define alarms here. So for analog alarms, I can just add a new alarm here and just say line overspeed, and then our trigger tag. Notice that it doesn't give me the Boolean or the W string because they're not relevant here. And so here we're just going to put a limit, and let's say if it goes over 100, and this is your higher or lower, so we're going to call that higher, and you can do other things here too. So our info text, this is kind of your pop-up text that you have. Let's just call this slow the line down. And then if we go down here to our alarm area, I'm just going to kind of pull this up here. So here's the actual text. Line is going too fast. And then, of course, I could put additional text and things like that. The info text is, there's a button you can hit to give you more information. And then we can also add parameters into here to indicate how fast it's going and things like that. That's our analog alarm. If we go to visualization, notice we have an area that says drop faceplates here. So this is how it ties in the visualization to this plant object. So I can go to my library here, and here's my conveyor, and I'm just going to drag it and drop it right here. And then we're going to get our name, value, and state here under this drop down. So I'm going to save that, and let me show you how this works. We'll go back to over here to our plant object, and we're going to add a new plant view. I'll just call this lines view because we're looking at our production lines. And I'll right click. We can take a look at assign HMI device. Basically, this is the only one to select because we only have one runtime device. And then I'll just add a new node. And so we'll rename this line 1. And then we'll click show these types, and then I can just drag this object right here, and it's going to pop it in right under line 1. And then I'll right click this and do open. Okay, so now it's going to give us the interface, and so this is an instance of our plant object. And so now it's asking what actual tag do you want to hook up to this, but first we have to give it a connection, and so we'll just do connection 1. We're going to do kind of the same thing here. We're going to want to pick the list icon, and I'll go to production lines, and then I'll do line 1 conveyor and none. So that's really all we have to do. And then we can go look at our analog alarms. We see that we have a line here for our analog alarms. And of course our visualization tab. So we've got our version 3 line conveyor here. Notice we have the lowercase name, value, and state. And then we can just double click here and that will create a screen for us. And we right click and open. So now we will go to the library and we're going to drag in the relevant version of our faceplate. And looking at the properties of this, it's 225 width, 275 height. We'll make our page accommodate it. So let's say 230 for our width and 280 for our height. And then clicking on the faceplate here, here's our interface name, value, state. And then we'll hit the 3-dot button and then make sure you go to your HMI tags. Here's line 1 conveyor and we'll choose the name version of that. And I'm going to raise that up so you guys can see the interface better. There's the value and there is the state. Okay, so now we have a conveyor 1 screen and I'll just hit save project. And so I have a challenge for you. What I would like you to do is go in and create these plant objects for your motor and your pump and create an alarm for each if you want. Create your visualization, add your tags, and configure the screens. And then go ahead and add a line 2 and a line 3 if you like, and repeat those same steps so that we'll have something to look at. So pause the video, complete the challenge, and when you come back, I will show you how I did it. Okay, so the first step is to create the plant objects for our pump and motor. I already had one here because I kind of clicked it twice, so I'm just going to rename that motor. And then I will right click open. And we have to set our driver so it knows that it's a PLC driver. And then we have to set our tag so it kind of knows what members we have. So we'll choose equipment UDT. And we can add an alarm to this if we want. So this is our motor. So let's just say motor over speed. And then the trigger tag, we'll do value. And then we can set the limit at, say, 75 and set it to higher. So we have an alarm. And then for our visualization, we will go to our library and we're going to get the latest version of our motor and drop the faceplate in right there. And we will save that. And then we'll go back to the plant object types and create one more. And we'll right click open that. Set our communication and then set our UDT. And I'm not going to worry about an alarm on this guy. You can put one if you want. For our visualization, we'll go down to our libraries. Here's our line pump. We'll grab the latest version, drop it in there. There's our interface. So we've created all of our plant objects. And so we can just drag these over, and you can drag these under if you want, or you can add them kind of under the root, however you want. And then if we want to add another line, we could do that, but let's do our visualization on these first. So I'll start with a motor, right click open. And so we'll go to our interface and we'll choose our connection. So we'll go to our production lines, we'll go to our line 1 motor, and then we're going to hit none there, and it should fill all this stuff out. And there's our alarm. And for our visualization, I'll just double click and we'll open this. So you'll notice it gave the name motor 2. That's because I actually already have a motor 1 from earlier in the course, and it has kind of nothing to do with this. So if the name bothers us, we can just go back and rename it right here. If we want to call that line 1 motor or something like that, just so that it's not confusing. And then just right click open. And we're going to follow the same steps. I'll go to my library. I'll find my motor. I'll drag this up here. We'll take a look at the size, 225 by 275. So I'll click on the page. And so then we'll do 230 here and 285. Looks like might need to go a little bit larger on this guy here. And then we will select the motor, and we've got to go fill out our tag interface. So for the name, we'll choose line 1 motor name. And for value, we'll choose value. And for state, we'll choose state. So we'll just repeat the process for our pump. So I'll just right click open. And I always like to start with the interface, where we choose our connection. And we choose production lines, line 1 pump, none. And our pump, we didn't do any alarms on. So we'll go straight to visualization. There's our faceplate. And then we'll just right click, open, and do the same steps. And go to my library, grab my pump, pull this in, set my size, select the faceplate, and then I'm on line 1 pump. And so there's our name, value, and state. And so if you want to add line 2 or 3, just reproduce these same steps, and of course assign your line 2 tags, line 3 tags to your individual equipments. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and create line 2 and populate it with the same plant objects as in line 1, and then configure it for the appropriate tags for line 2. And then move on to the next section where we will create our visualization for our plant view. Okay, so here's your assignment 3. You're going to create the plant objects and the plant view like we did in the video. So create your plant objects for your conveyors, motors, and pumps, and then create a plant view with the nodes for line 1 and 2. And then each line should have a conveyor, motor, and pump. And of course, configure these with the appropriate UDTs and tags. And don't forget, for each plant object instance you have, create a screen on the Visualization tab and add and configure your faceplate screen. If you need help on specific steps, please refer back to the video as needed.